for being here today as we join Canadians all across the country in commemorating the National Day of Mourning. On this day, we come together to honor those who have lost their lives or who have become injured or ill due to unsafe working conditions. By being here today, you are helping to bring awareness to the importance of health and safety in the workplace and helping to prevent further workplace injury, illness, and death. I'm Amelia, the curator of the Elliot Lake Museum, which oversees the Miners Memorial Park. It is a privilege to look after a space which is so special to so many people. With a grandfather who spent his career in the mines working for Denison, I know firsthand the toll it takes on the minds and bodies of all the workers who went underground, too often ill-prepared or misinformed. I am extremely proud that our community recognizes how important it is to honor the sacrifices of all these men and women who put their own lives at risk to provide for their families and to build this community, and that we have created such a meaningful space to pay tribute to them. You have likely noticed a recent addition to our park. The fourth column was installed earlier this week along with a helmet statement piece to sit beside our miner. The artist Laura Brown-Breitfeld, who created these pieces, along with all the other monuments in the park, was unable to be with us today, but we would like to thank her for her beautiful work, which has become such an integral focal point for our community. While the weather has not yet allowed for the names of the inductees for 2022 and 2023 to be engraved, over the next weeks they will be added to the new wall, which itself will be integrated into the park in the style of its three predecessors. This fourth column is a symbol of our commitment to recognize the sacrifices of all the Elliot Lake miners and a statement that we will continue to create spaces for their names until a time when it is no longer necessary. So to kick off our ceremony, I would like to invite Linda Aelick to the front to present us with a reading of her original poem titled The Miners.
Hi, my name is Linda Aelick and I've worked at Denison Mines. I was a heavy equipment operator on surface, so a lot of the names of the people that are on these memorials are friends, comrades, and people I've known for a lot of years. So tribute to them. Our miners. We were the miners who built this town. We are the ones who stood for people who live here. We made our home here and voiced our opinions on how things should run. We walked these streets, sometimes in fun, other times in protest of things that need to be done. We made changes when needed, but never forgot who we were, the miners. Went on strike to get more money to raise our family, to raise new roofs for homes we bought, as our community grew from a small town to the small city of today. Our lives were full of hard work, family, and fun. On paydays, we all met at the Algodin with laughter and beer, and fun began. Even the Nordic rocked with laughter and song when we were out. Most of this is only in our memories, soon to be lost as we are called home by the ones above. New places stand on our old stomping grounds, such as Shoppers Drug Mart and Nordic is torn down. Since we are gone, so much has changed. Safety we once knew has been replaced with growing unease. New people are here and expectations are not the same. Our community is disappearing and politics are running wild. We or some of us are still here, but getting older and have lost our will to fight. But Elliot Lake will always be our home. So all who are here to remember us and know no fear, our spirits are still here, for this is home. So live here kindly with respect and build your memories as we have done. Thank you, the miners, new and old.
I would now like to invite Sue Girard to the podium as our first speaker, who will be presenting on behalf of our MP, Carol Hughes.
Ani, bonjour, good morning. Before we begin, I first wish to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people. MP Carol Hughes is unfortunately not able to be with us as she is on speaker duty at the House of Commons and has asked that I read the following message on her behalf. Thank you for taking the time to meet here today on the National Day of Mourning. Every year on April the 20th, we take the time to remember those who tragically lost their lives at work. The National Day of Mourning is a somber reminder that too many Canadians, nearly 1,000 per year, lose their lives on the job as a result of job-related injuries or occupational diseases. In 1984, the Canadian Labour Congress established the first National Day of Mourning in Canada to remember and honor those who left for work to support their family and never came home, those who suffered an illness due to insufficient health and safety standards, and those who have been injured in the workplace. April 28th was the date selected to represent the National Day of Mourning, as it was the 70th anniversary of the first iteration of Ontario Workers' Compensation Act, passed on that day in 1914. This observance was enshrined nationally in 1991. Since that time, workers across the country have gathered at memorial events like this one to commemorate those we've lost, but in importance that mourning begets action. L'an dernier, j'ai parlé de l'importance du projet de loi Westray, nommé d'après la mine de la Nouvelle-Écosse, qui a explosé en 1992 et qui a fait 26 morts. Le projet de la loi est important et visait à tenir les propriétaires et les sociétés responsables des blessures et des décès et sur les mesures de sécurité raisonnables n'étaient pas mises en place. La loi a été utilisée très peu de fois et n'a donné lieu qu'à une poignée de condamnations au cours de ses 20 ans d'existence. Il est important d'apporter des lois pour prévenir les décès au milieu du travail, mais nous devons appuyer la loi sur la sécurité au travail par une application réelle. Sinon, les travailleurs et travailleuses continueront d'assumer les risques. Here at the Miners' Memorial, a fourth panel of the memorial wall has been installed just this week to accommodate the growing number of names we memorialize who have lost their lives in either a workplace tragedy or have developed an occupational illness. To the families whose dearly departed loved ones are being added to the memorial wall today, please accept my deepest condolences, and although the time may have passed, may their inclusion on this wall with the many others serve as a reminder that we still have much work to do to prevent workplace deaths, injuries, and related diseases. In closing, I wish to thank the City of Elliot Lake for their commitment to hosting this annual ceremony and ensuring that these workers are never forgotten. I thank all and every one of you for being here to honor the memory of the workers who have passed due to work-related injuries and disease, and to those suffering for work-related injuries and illness. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. The next speaker I would like to welcome to the front is Mike Mantha, our MPP.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to finally be out here on a nice sunny day. It hasn't been a very pleasurable week, and I didn't think that we would actually be here under this beautiful sky, and there's only one person that we need to thank for that, and that's J'aime le dos. J'aime le dos, ni shin na kwa, kino mampi, j'aime le dos. Good morning, Ani, bonjour. I'm happy to see you here, all present here today in Elliot Lake. Elliot Lake is known for consistently supporting our National Day of Mourning. Much of the community's faithfulness, I'm sure, can be attributed to the fact that this town, Elliot Lake, is the birthplace of Ontario's health and safety regulations. On April 18, 1974, about 1,000 miners from Denison Mine went on a 3-day wildcat strike. Those brave union members protested the high incidence of injury. Hundreds of miners were ill or dying from silicosis and lung cancer. Yet the mining company nor the government were taking any steps to protect these workers. This labor action led to the Ontario Health and Safety Act. Il n'y a aucun doute que l'observation du jour du deuil national continue d'avoir un effet profond sur la santé et sécurité au travail. Il est tellement facile de voir nos journées passer lorsque nous suivons nos routines quotidiennes. Nous avons besoin de ces jours afin de ne pas oublier. Certains pourraient se demander à quoi sert le jour de deuil. Vous ne pouvez pas annuler ce qui a été déjà fait. Il est vrai que nous ne pouvons pas défaire ce qui a été fait, mais nous pouvons certainement réfléchir aux décisions et aux actions que nous avons prises ou pas prises. Et nous pouvons prendre des mesures pour changer l'avenir. A perfect example of this again emanates from the city of Elliot Lake. Our own Janice Martell is the daughter of Jim Hobbs, who was a miner here in Elliot Lake. On his employer's advice to protect his health, Jim Hobbs was asked to inhale, no, let me correct that, was directed to inhale McIntyre powder, a drug sanctioned by the Ontario government. But instead of protecting his health, the inhaled powder caused severe health issues. McIntyre powder led to the onset of Parkinson's disease, which eventually led to his demise. Watching her father's health deteriorate stirred Janice into action. She started the McIntyre Powder Project to prove there was a potential link between inhaling the powder and neurological disease. Janice collected the health records of more than 27,000 former miners, and that number still continues to grow today, for the McIntyre Powder Project. Janice had a passion to make things right and having those responsible held accountable for causing so many illnesses and death. Her work garnered incredible public support. It was Janice who forced the hand of the Ontario government to apologize last November to the workers of the families affected. They took responsibility for their negligence and error. But the apology does not bring those loved ones back. Hopefully, this admission will help ensure better policies and guidelines are created and followed. Janice Martell made a difference to workplace safety in Ontario. You certainly did, Janice. In our workplaces, we do not always have total control over each and every situation, but there is always something we can do to bring it to light or correct it. Taking action can make a difference in preventing injuries and even death. So that is why I say it is crucial for all of us to take pause on April 28th each year to focus on remembering and honoring those who have died because of workplace injury and illnesses. We must strive to keep workplace health and safety as job one today and every day. Alors que nous quittons cet endroit aujourd'hui, nos cœurs et nos prières accompagnent leur travail et leurs familles qui ont enduré des pertes. Nous devons nous engager à renforcer notre détermination à garder l'esprit, la santé et la sécurité au travail à chaque jour. As we leave this place today, our hearts and prayers are with the workers and their families who have suffered so much. We must commit today and every day to strengthening our resolve to keeping workplace health and safety in the minds of every day, of everyone, each and every time and opportunity that we have. Merci, miigwech. No, bonjour.
So our next speaker needs no introduction now, but she is the founder of the McIntyre Powder Project and responsible for a lot of the names that we have had the honor to add to our memorial walls over the past couple years. So please help me in welcoming Janice Martell to the podium.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thank you for those kind words. I have to clarify, I have not reached 27,500 yet. That's the goal. There were about 27,500 mine workers who were exposed to McIntyre powder. I have 600 of them on my voluntary registry, but we have been able to help many of them, and we're hoping to help more. And not just ones that were exposed to McIntyre powder, but we're exposed to all of the other crap that's in the mines, like diesel exhaust, silica dust, radon, ionizing radiation, arsenic. There's a whole lot of stuff. The day of mourning is very important. Hallowed. This is hallowed ground for me and our families and for everybody who's here. Normally I spend a lot of time trying to take a pause and think about what I would like to say. and write that into a beautiful speech, which I did not do today because for the last 3 weeks I've had one call after the other asking about compensation. And I really wanted to speak from the heart anyways. And I had a long thought on the way up. I was thinking about this journey and speaking here and the people that I first met here that many years ago when the first time I came here and spoke. I think about Mo Sallow. This is the first time I saw him. His name's on the wall now. His widow's not in good health right now. And I think about Clara Hayjack, who was here 2 years ago when my dad's name went on the wall. Her husband's on the wall. She's passed now. I think about Carrie Chenier. Carrie Chenier worked in the mines and she became part of the steelworkers, and she helped multitudes of families over the years with compensation claims. So all of that was weighing on me, and as I was driving up, I guess the last couple of days, there was two things that were really sitting with me. And one of them was I knew I was going to meet another miner's daughter today, whose dad died when she was 6 months old in a mine accident. 75 tons, I believe it was, of rock fell on him. And I thought, how am I going to come up here and talk about my dad, who I got the privilege of knowing for 50 years, when she never even knew her father? And that got me thinking about all of those names on the walls and how many children didn't get to grow up to know their fathers or mothers because of accidents that took them, or because of illness. Occupational illness is often, 30, 40 years down the line after your exposures. But in Elliot Lake here, I know in the 60s and 70s, it was a killing field. There were workers dying of silicosis, of lung cancer, many of them. And it's hard to reconcile those losses when you think that it was work that took them. Sorry, it's the wind. I'm not crying yet. That probably will happen though. And I think the other big thought that hit me is this ground, and wanting to really commend the people of Elliot Lake. I think it was the steelworkers that first brought this in as well when the mines were closing, for not only creating this monument, but for keeping it going. When I come up here, and I don't know, every time I come up here, there's people parked up here. They're having their coffees. They go to Timmy's, pick a coffee, their McDonald's Sundays, whatever, when the ice cream machine's working, and they'll sit out here and they'll walk around the boardwalk, and you see them walking around the names. And when I walk around and see these names, I remember Dad, when he looked at his brick, I got him a memorial brick it wasn't a memorial, commemorative brick, for Father's Day in 2009, and we got to take pictures of him up here with it. And it feels good to be here in that sense and walk around and see all of the life that was here and the people who built this town. Truly, their labor built this town. This town was built on the backs of these workers. And I'm grateful to Laura for creating such a beautiful space to come to. And I'm really grateful that we took on putting on another section of the wall. It's hard. Change is hard when you see things. We've got a beautiful wall here. Everything was kind of perfectly in, and you're like, oh, we got to put another section up. But, half of those ones that are going on for the last 3 years have been from my guys, the McIntyre powder guys. And it was about time that those things got recognized. So I think we need to keep going on that. We did this long, hard fight. It wasn't just Parkinson's that was caused by McIntyre powder. It affected your lungs as well. COPD claims are being recognized. If you worked in a mine and you have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you should make a claim. I can help you if you need to start the paperwork at least. I don't represent on claims, and that's not our role, but those forms are not the easiest thing to fill out. I'm traveling. I took a week off work, and I'm traveling up to mining communities over the next week. This is my first stop this afternoon at the Collins Hall from 2 to 4. It's open to anybody. If you know any workers, bring them in. Any family members, bring them in. Most people, you know, we work really hard to make these connections and to say, you know, what's going on, and the occupational health clinics for Ontario workers, OCAL, who I work for now, the reason I left Elliot Lake was to keep pursuing this and fighting. You know, they're looking at other things like sarcoidosis. We have a series of people with sarcoidosis, which is a fairly rare granulomatic lung disease. It primarily affects the lungs, but it can affect any of the organs in the body, the skin, the heart, the liver, different areas. And most people don't realize that they can apply for compensation, that families can apply, that widows can apply and get that. And those benefits are life-changing. Some of them are insulting. Sometimes it's a non-economic loss award of a couple $1,000s for getting Parkinson's or COPD. But you get health benefits as well. And if the worker passes and their recognized occupational disease contributed to the reason that they died, their widow, if they're surviving widow or surviving dependent children, can get benefits for life. It's a pension for life. It's made the difference for some of these women primarily to keep their houses and the other issue, apart from, you know, I've heard people say, well, you know, I'm not greedy and, you know, I don't really know about applying. They feel almost guilty or ashamed to come and seek compensation because, you know, I think that the workers were very hardworking. They're very stoic. They just kind of go in, do their job. There was a real culture of, you know, you don't complain, you just put up with things. And I think if we just put up with things, we're not going to see the numbers of people who are truly affected by this, and it's staggering. What you see for workers' compensation statistics come from the Workers' Compensation Board or the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board now for accepted claims, and anyone who's ever dealt with the WSIB knows that it's not easy to get a claim accepted. It's getting better now because they know they're going to have to deal with me if they say no to my people. And I'm not taking credit for that. I think it's really raised the awareness, but anything that I've done with this has happened because other people stood up. I had my dad's name on my voluntary registry when I started this I started the research in 2014 and I went public in 2015. You know, and Don Harrison stood up and Tom Jeffrey stood up and people that I talked to around this town. And before you knew it, we had enough people on that registry, and you started to see patterns of behavior. You started to see, well, there's a lot of other people with Parkinson's on here. There's a lot of other people with COPD. And one of the largest things I have on there is shortness of breath, people having problems with shortness of breath, chronic cough and stuff, where they haven't gotten assessed. So I'm going to be talking about that today at the Collins Hall. It's not just about McIntyre powder, it's about other mining exposures, it's about how to apply for compensation, how to overcome barriers to do that. You know, so I hope that people come to that and tell your neighbors and friends. I'm honestly doing this on my own time and time this week, and there's lots of mining communities I'd like to get to, but I can't afford the time off work or the money to get there and rent halls and stuff. I really want to thank the Elliot Lake Nuclear Mining Museum, who gave me the hall for free. I really appreciate that because, or sponsored it. I should say they're sponsoring this event, and it's made a difference. So I hope we keep coming out to these events. I hope that if there's mine workers out here in the audience today and their family members, please know that we'll keep fighting for you. And I'm trying to set up things so that when my voice is gone as well, that this will not be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janice. I would now like to invite Andrew Wannan, our Deputy Mayor, to the podium to formally induct this year's recognized fallen miners.
Good morning. Apologize for my voice, just coming from a cold. I'd like to start by thanking Amelia for hosting and emceeing and organizing this event this year. I'd also like to thank all the other presenters. And I'd like to welcome and thank you all for joining us here at the Miners Memorial Park in Elliot Lake. Whether you've come from near or far, your attendance is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Janice. Speaking from the heart, it's not easy, but I appreciate everything that you've done. I've known you forever, and I've watched you do it all. Keep going. So we are gathered here today by the Miners Monument Memorial Wall. This monument is engraved with the names of workers who have lost their lives from workplace accidents or from occupational illnesses related to working in any of our mines in Elliot Lake. We honor all those names on the wall today, but we should also recognize the impact on their families and loved ones, as well as the impact on our community. If you look around and read any of the names, you will find someone that has been involved in your life in one way or the other. This yearly ceremony is also conducted to acknowledge the importance of and advocacy of improved workplace safety and awareness and improved occupational hazard research in order to create safer working environments. We should all be inspired to continue our efforts in the hopes of eliminating all occupational dangers from the workplace. Today is April 28th, Canada's annual day of mourning. And in commemoration of that, this year, we honor and pay respect to the families as we induct the following four to our memorial wall. When I say the names, can the family please come up and join beside me? And we will have a moment of silence afterwards. For the family of Gabriel Déraps. Irwin Fast.
Hi. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Come on, all up, all up. Dennis W. Major. Richard Rochon. Okay, can we now join together in a moment of silence, please?
Thank you all for joining us in our moment of silence in recognition of this year's Day of Mourning. I'll invite the families to take a seat now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So every name on these walls and on each memorial brick in the park has a person, has a story behind it. Today I have the honor of helping to share the stories behind the names of this year's inductees. Irwin Fast was born in Low Farm, Manitoba in 1925. Irwin first got a job at McLeod Gold Mines in Geraldton, where he met and married Grace Byerly. The couple moved to Elliot Lake in December of 1957 with their 3 small children. Irwin first worked underground at Canmet Mines, and when it closed in the early 60s, he went to Lacknor, Stanrock, Stanley, and Milliken Mines. After the bust and those mines closed, he left in 1961 to work at Gunmar Mines in Lake Athabasca, Alberta, as a diamond driller. He returned in 1963 when the mines reopened to work at Nordic Mine as a mechanic at the mill. He was transferred to Quirk 1, where he worked in the warm room, rebuilding pumps and other equipment. He finally retired in 1990 when the mines closed, having worked in 8 of the 13 Elliot Lake mines during his career. Irwin enjoyed living in Elliot Lake. He loved fishing and bought a boat for summer fishing and a snowmobile for winter fishing. He fished all the lakes around. He also liked hockey, and his favorite team was the Toronto Maple Leafs. Irwin passed away in 2012, having raised 4 beautiful children, Sharon, Susan, Bruce, and Penny, in Elliot Lake with his wife, where all of his grandchildren were raised as well. He is missed dearly by each of them. Richard Rochon was born December 23rd in 1940, and he worked at Denison Mine for 30 years. The first 12 years he worked in the mill, and the next 18 he worked underground in the electrical department, where he made many good, lasting friendships. He was a family man, and his wife, children, and grandchildren always came first to him. He was proud of them and spent as much time as he could with them. In the summer, he thoroughly enjoyed fishing, boating, and camping with the family. He took great pleasure in teaching the kids his favorite pastime, which was fishing. Likewise, in the winter, he took them ice fishing and snowshoeing. The grandchildren loved it when Papa made them hot dogs or grilled cheese sandwiches in the ice hut. He took great pride in his family and was loved by each one of them. Richard passed away March 23, 2015. He has left a big void in all of their lives and is missed every day. I would now like to invite Claudette Major to the podium so she can share herself her memories of her late husband, Dennis W. Major.
Sometimes saying thank you is expressed in a smile, in a gesture, in an action, and in words. At this time, I would like to thank the Council of Elliot Lake for marking the national anniversary of the Day of Mourning, and a very special day to honor workers and miners who have died due to work-related circumstances. And my special thanks to Doug Soulière, Chair of the Name Selection Committee, and Amelia D'Amato, Curator of the Elliot Lake Museum, for looking to make this day very special for myself and my family. My husband Dennis passed away December 20th, 2021. He had been sick for a long time, and his life was not easy at times, but he enjoyed every moment of it. He was a man of all seasons. Come springtime, tapping trees and making maple syrup, greeting visitors of all age to share this special event. Summer was volunteering for the ministry to restock the lakes for the enjoyment of the people Elliot Lake and visitors. Fall, as you know, was hunting season, and he took great pleasure in the quietness of nature. Winter was his favorite time to be out and ice fishing and riding his snow machine. I think he knew the names of all the lakes in the area and how to get there. He left behind his 3 children, Robert, Richard with his wife Alana, Renelle, along with 7 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. My thanks to Janice Martell, who has taken an immense endeavor to make the life easier for the miners who are ill and their families of the departed left behind. One cannot count the hours she devoted to the miners in the province. I extend my gratitude to all my friends who are here today and to everyone who's attending this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudette. Now we will hear from Monique Déraps to share with us the story of her late husband, Gabriel Déraps.
It won't be easy since I left Ontario a long time ago, so my English is not so great. And it's not easy day to talk about our lost one. I remember I was so young, and I had such a depression because I felt so lost without him, and it was not fair. And to see him so much in pain, suffering so much, it's unbelievable. It never left me and never will. So I'm going to try to read something. And if I can, my son's going to continue. So please be patient. Thank you. We are gathered here today to commemorate all those who have fallen due to their work. Unfortunately, I am here to remember my late husband, Gabriel Déraps, who spent years working hard in mines to put food on his family's table, unknowingly sacrificing his life in the process. The life of Gabriel Déraps is unfortunately a typical story for his generation. Born into poverty in Temiskaming, taking out of school at 13 to go to work in a sawmill. He eventually joined the gold rush and made his way to mines in Val-d'Or and Chibougamau and Elliot Lake. This hard, dangerous life was probably the only path available to him to improve his lot. Having gained mining experience, he was lured by the carrot of high salary to the mine in northern Ontario, including those that dot the landscape around Elliot Lake. Of course, the mining company, as well as the government of the day actively hid the real and present dangers from the mine's workers and did almost nothing to protect them. The long list of workers on the memorial wall is but a small testament to the great sacrifice workers such as Gabriel made. My husband was a diligent worker who never missed a day's work, even when he had been injured by falling rock. He was at work the next day. He also witnesses a friend who was not so lucky and was instantly crushed to death next to him. Incidents such as these, as well as the dirty, hard, and dangerous work he was forced to do, caused him to have nightmares, and understandably so. However, the greatest risk he faced were invisible to him: the radioactive dust and gas, chemical, exhaust, and other
carcinogenic
substance that would eventually cause his death. Ceremonies like this one are important because they allow us to recognize the suffering, industrial disease, and death caused to ordinary family such as ours. Although I'm still sad that my husband passed away 32 years ago, I'm proud to be here to recognize Gabriel Déraps' sacrifice. I would like to express my gratitude to the following people. Thanks to Amelia, the Meadow, for assistance, as well as the Memorial Wall Committee for having accepted my husband as an inductee and recognizing his sacrifice. Thanks to Rick Hamilton, who graciously supported us, and without whose help I would not be standing here today. People like Rick are precious and deserve our recognition, gratitude, and love. Thanks to my son Perry and my grandson Samuel for having accompanied us to the ceremony, as well as my partner Jerry for his loving support. Thanks to my son Jean for having initiated and undertaking the huge task of having my husband's death recognized. My son Jean lives in the Netherlands, so he couldn't be here today, but he's all with you in spirit. Finally, thanks to my late husband, Gabriel Déraps, for having worked hard to support me and our children, and for having paid the ultimate price. May he rest in peace. I'm sorry. You want to say a word?
it's a hard act to follow. My dad died on April 22nd, 1991. It has now been 32 years since he's been gone, but he hasn't been forgotten. I just want to share one quick story. I know you've been here for a while now, but when I was a young man of around 18, I was working with my dad, and we would stay the week in a small trailer, and this was a great opportunity for him to show me how to play cribbage. And one of the ongoing jokes he always did with me is he always say, "Is it my crib?" And I'd say, no, you just had the crib, it's my turn. And what I've done is, because of that, able to teach my 3 children how to play cribbage, and I still keep playing the same game to my children, saying, "Is it my crib?" And so, in some small way, even though it's been 32 years, he's still with us. And I like to think that my dad and all those here are gone, but are not forgotten. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the families of Gabriel Déraps, Irwin Fast, Dennis W. Major, and Richard Rochon for sharing these stories and being with us today in recognition of their loved ones, joining the names of co-workers and friends to our memorial wall. I would like to thank our speakers, Sue Girard on behalf of Carol Hughes, our MP Mantha, Andrew Wannan, and Janice Martell for sharing their knowledge and for their continued fight to prevent further workplace tragedy. Thank you to our fire department for the lowering of our flag, and to our Parks and Public Works Department for their maintenance of the Memorial Park. Thanks also goes out to artists Linda Aelick and Kim Arnold, who you will meet momentarily, for sharing their talents in dedication of all those affected by workplace tragedy and occupational illness. A very special thanks goes out to the Rogers family for their continued support of our Day of Mourning event. The Rogers family, who lost a husband and father, Miklos Kolev, to a workplace tragedy, and the 4 families you met here today who lost loved ones to occupational disease, are real-life examples of the resounding effects unsafe working conditions have not only on the worker, but on everyone who has cared for them. I would like to remind everyone here today that if you or a loved one has been affected by any mining exposures, Janice Martell is conducting a free informational session at the Collins Hall this afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m., where you can learn about different compensations and supports. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today to commemorate this National Day of Mourning. To end our ceremony, I would like to invite Kim Arnold to the front to perform her original song, In My Memory.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share this song with you again. I wrote this song when Darla Hennessy asked me if I would. We were deep in the throes of the pandemic, and she asked if I would write a song to help commemorate this day. So I brought the words because I updated it. I'm really happy we're not in a pandemic, global pandemic, but I also wanted to write this song and make it meaningful for each of you, for all the families and friends. So here goes. Working deep underground till shift change whistle blows, braving heat, dust and sweat, tempting fate as they go. A lifetime of mining, it'll steal your breath away. So together we will mark their sacrifice and say, thank you for your service, a debt we can't repay. Working far from loved ones to make a better day. With these hands I would touch your kind weathered face. With these arms I'd give to you my loving embrace. With my voice I'd call to you so tenderly. Forever you will live on in my memory. This song is for the ones who never made it home. Family whose lives changed when they picked up the phone. Workplace illness and injury can't be undone. Do your best to be safe and hug the ones you love. Thank you for your service, a debt we can't repay, working far from loved ones to make a better day. With these hands I would touch your kind weathered face. With these arms I'd give to you my loving embrace. With my voice I'd call to you so tenderly. Forever you will live on in my memory. One day we'll see you again. We will share our memories of you until then. With these hands I would touch your kind weathered face. With these arms I'd give to you my loving embrace. With my voice I'd call to you so tenderly. Forever you will live on in my memory. Yeah.